Well, good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. One day late, and it certainly was a Happy New Year for City because the final score at Ashton Gate in front of 24,000 plus hungover fans. We'll talk more about that later. It finished City 5, Portsmouth 0. Didn't see that coming. They were unbeaten in 4 coming into the game. They got that 98th minute winner against Charlton on the previous fixture. So they were confident, although rocked by injuries, and we gave those boys a hell of a beating, to quote a famous phrase from a commentary many years ago. I'm delighted today to be joined by Tom from the Robins Nest, Ant Banks, and sat next to me is Neil Sutton. As we do, chaps, thoughts on the final whistle? You first, Tom, as you trooped away from Ashton Gate.
It was easy, wasn't it? I think the best performance from Portsmouth yesterday was their away fans. I thought they were very good and probably deserved more out of their team, really. And the one thing that I took away from them was, they were, a second string team, but Mousinho still persisted with trying to play out from the back, which I just thought was mind boggling, really, because we just hammered them as a result, didn't we?
Yeah. Neil, what did you think?
Strange game, very strange game. Apart from about a 10-minute period in the second half, Portsmouth didn't turn up at all. And there wasn't any energy, any drive, anything to them. I didn't feel like we had to do very much, really. I mean, we sat after the fourth goal in the 59th minute, we all turned around in the dolman and went, I don't think we've actually had to do that much in the game to be 4-0 up, really. We didn't have to extend ourselves. We didn't have to go through that many phases at all. And they were really strange, really. They played for a 10-minute period in the second half, I think when it was at 3-0.
Yeah,
before the fourth, where it was almost like, if we don't start playing now, we're going to get really smashed. So they played, but they couldn't keep it up for longer than 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah. If I was a Portsmouth fan, I'd be absolutely disgusted by that level of performance.
You just wonder what hotel they stayed in Bristol the night before, because they did look like they were a bit flat-footed, let's put it like that. And your thoughts on the final whistle? Didn't see it coming, really, did we? Or have we under Struber ball? Anything's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, echo what the guys have said, really. And Portsmouth, they didn't even come for a point. They came to not lose by that many. And it was really, really odd. If I was one of their fans, I mean, we've all played badly. We've all had, like ourselves, a Watford this season where we were down to the bare bones. The very least you ask for is a committed performance and actually trying to do something on the pitch. Portsmouth didn't really try and do anything. I totally echo what Tom said. That I thought it was bizarre that against a team renowned for high pressing, trying to win the ball up the pitch, you try and play out from the back. And they gave us 2 of the goals. As a result, they didn't show up at all. The fans of theirs absolutely did show up. It's one of those where someone Parish used to say, never get too high with a high and too low with the lows, and remain balanced. And it's very easy to become too high after you've won 5-0. But I find it very difficult to learn a huge amount from yesterday's game in view of what we had in front of us. So delighted with a win, really happy. But for the first time ever under Struber, I was slightly flat when we were winning because it was almost just a bit too easy.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Talking about their fans, God, if I was one of their fans, I'd get sick of that bloody bell that they were ringing all the time. I mean, they've been doing that for years, and the drum and whatnot. But no, it was it was an enjoyable game just to walk away, and keeping the clean sheet was important. I think we're the fourth highest goal scorers in the division at the moment. Yeah, everybody says we need a striker. More of that later. Tom, the City lineup, no Harry Cornick on the bench because he's taken his suspension early. But the return of Sam Bell from his loan period, we'll talk about his game contribution. I did say to somebody before the game, if Sam Bell is the answer, what was the question type of thing. But what did you think of the lineup and the couple of changes made and the inclusion of Bell straight back from his loan? He is match fit.
Yeah, I think the lineup was the team, really. I think Struber said pre-match that Dickie felt something with his groin, so that kept him on the bench. So hopefully that's nothing too serious for Dickie. I think it was probably right to bring Borges back in Pring. So I thought at the end of the Millwall game, Pring looked absolutely dead on his feet. So I don't think he would have been fit to start the game. And yeah, Sam Bell's an interesting one, isn't he? Because I think if rumours are to believe to be believed Cornick is going the other way. And I think to swap Bell for Cornick probably makes sense on the whole of it. I reckon if we have the power to do that.
Neil, what did you think of the lineup? I mean, he's managing minutes. Another surprise was the exclusion of well, not say exclusion, but Rob Dickey was on the bench. But he didn't get any minutes. What did you think?
It's such a busy schedule, isn't it? If anybody turns around to you and says, I've got a bit of a broken toenail, I don't quite fancy it, you can rotate. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? The injury situation that we had maybe 2 months ago would have necessitated them perhaps going, can you just give me 60 and see how we are? Whereas now you can rotate out, and Tanner coming back.
Yeah, I thought he did well. I thought he did all right, didn't he? Didn't have to do a lot.
I'm never a huge fan of Max down the middle as the dominant ball winning, but centre back, if you put a big guy up against Zach in the centre, it'd be interesting if they did it at Millwall, for instance. Preston with Osamane. I don't think you could play Zach in the centre there, but for me, it was fine. I mean, Borges, I prefer Pring, but as Tom Corrado said, Pring hadn't been necessarily on it. The games are so thick and fast, aren't they? I mean, after Sunday, at least we have a kind of a week off.
Yeah.
And you know that they're just not going to train for a couple of days. It's just going to be like...
And it was good that we didn't have to, as I think Tom or Ant had said, operating at 60% pace. We weren't scrambling a 3-2 win in the 95th minute or anything like that. And another person on the bench, he had the training gear on, obviously not a shirt, is Sam Morsey. It's obvious that he's going to be coming, and I think the manager says he could even feature in the lineup this weekend. But that apart, Peckover on the bench, the bench sort of picks itself at the moment, doesn't it? Because that is all the fit players that we've got at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, I think Struber said after the game, you get 60 minutes, and the plan worked perfectly. In his partner's list was crystal clear to get through. Make sure that you didn't strain yourselves too much. We did play at 60%. You know, it was that easy. If we'd have played at 100%, God knows what the score would have ended up being. The only possible downside, you'd argue, of how we did manage the game is if you're not going to bring Jed Mearholz on for a few minutes when you're already 3-4 up, when are you going to bring him on? It's good to see Pekova get the minutes, obviously, but Mearholz with Morsey coming in, he gets pushed further back down the line. I would be therefore anticipating him to potentially go back out on loan, whether that's back out to Aldershot or back out somewhere else, because he's only played for one team this season. But the bench is generally picking itself. There were options on that. Could we have put Pekova on sooner? Yeah, potentially. Could we have put Mearholz on? Yeah, potentially sooner. But I don't think you can object to when you work through that game, you get the 5 goals, and literally I think everyone's come out of probably not having had to work to their absolute maximum level when you've got another game in a few days. And it's not just the break after the Preston game. You've got the FA Cup game, which I expect to see a degree of rotation for.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that come the Oxford game, because I'm far more concerned about that than Watford in the Cup, we're very much fit and firing.
Yeah. Does it go after the Cup? Does it go Oxford, Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday in that order? Is that right?
It does, yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a hell of a game, because looking at the league table now, you could argue 5 points off second. You know, Auto is within our reach. Let's put it like that. I can remember being about 15 points behind Watford one season back in the 90s and managing to catch them up with a good run of form. And if we can follow up yesterday with another win, then we're in a really strong position. And as you say, it's a free hit in the Cup to give it some youngsters. Tom, one of the youngsters that won't feature now for us between now and the end of the season is Josh Stokes, going to Stockport County. He's going to get minutes. He had minutes last season at League Two. Is Stockport League Two or League One? I can't quite remember. League One. So good for him, or are you a bit disappointed that, you know?
Yeah, I am a little bit, but I guess I'm caught in two minds about Stokes. I guess Struber sees him every day in training, but I was reflecting on yesterday, even going into half time, I was like, oh, this is a game where some youngsters can get some minutes off of the bench, and the prime youngster that could get some minutes off of the bench yesterday was Josh Stokes. So maybe that's just unfortunate timing that the loan decision was made before that. But I did feel like it was a game where he could have got some minutes. But maybe long term, the loan is best for him to get some match sharpness and fitness, because I guess yesterday we probably saw the benefit of that for Sam Bell, I would guess.
Yeah, Sam Bell, I'm not his greatest fan, but I thought he did okay when he came on. Let's get into the action. Neil, starting with you. We're talking about the white shirts. What did you think of that?
It was a bit surreal seeing us play at home in white
I
shirts.
thought it looked pretty smart, to be honest.
Yeah, it was just strange sort of looking down on us playing in the away strip at home. I can't remember the last time we did that.
I don't think we ever have.
There we go.
Did you guys like it? And Tom? Tom, you first. Did you like it?
It's a nice kit. I just have a horrendous memory of us playing in any kind of special kit, really. But it's a nice kit to look at, isn't it?
Yeah. And what did you think?
I thought it looked pretty good. I mean, we're not the only Bristol club who their away kit has made a presence on the pitch for a home game. Notably, if I remember rightly, Mansfield wore a Bristol team's away kit on one stage, and yeah, and that ended very well. So I don't ever object to away kits of Bristol clubs being worn at grounds.
Yeah, I just wonder if we're going to have a special kit in, I don't know, maybe next year to celebrate the fact that we ended Southampton's unbeaten run nearly 2 years ago, 24 games. You know, would that be a purple, red, yellow, green? Would it be nearly said something. Would it be a rainbow-coloured shirt to celebrate the win over Southampton?
Fever pitch all over it.
Fever pitch all over it. Good to see the old boy. Good to see the old boys from 76 out there. I mean, Alan Dix, he's 91 now, and he can still string a sentence together. If I can do that when I get to his age, then I'll be well pleased. Anyway, as I said, back in the action, Randall got hoots of derision, Neil, didn't he, with an air kick as he burst forward. I mean, literally, you know, it was awful, but he got his just desserts a few minutes later. So the air kick and the first goal.
Yeah, I mean, I think the air kick was a cross rather than anything else, wasn't it? It was that proverbial sort of like one touch too many, and then sort of did it. But yeah, I still don't quite. There's so many different angles on that goal, isn't there, as to whether it went in. I think it got a slight deflection.
It did.
I think you probably were straight behind it, weren't you?
No, but I've seen it 3 or 4 times over now, and it just.
But what a performance by him yesterday!
Yeah.
But then it's difficult. It's like Ant and Tom have both said. You know, when we're setting the levels on yesterday, Randall looked Premiership class yesterday on that pitch. But was that because of the poorness of the opposition to a certain degree that allowed us to play in a certain way? And the players that were on the pitch yesterday, I don't think we learned too many. I mean, when you're 3-0 up and you do a triple substitution in the 59th minute, or possibly, was it 59th?
Yeah,
it was 56th.
Very early.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, we're so far ahead here that we're not even looking to play out, because normally if a team is pressing and you're at 3-0, you might do that 10 minutes later or so. Let's just stay solid and then make it. To do it at 56 is almost like saying they haven't got a hope of getting back into this game. I can make the changes now.
Yeah, with another game coming up.
Yeah.
Tom, we passed on the air kick. I think you said, or one of you said, Rands has put it on his Instagram for those who want to see it. But that first goal, good flighted free kick, defender heads it out. We want to see more of this shooting. That's one of the best goals. Yes, it took a deflection. We've seen Ashton Gate, goal of the season contender.
Yeah, I remember Fevs a few weeks ago tweeted a vids that he put together for Randall, or retweeted it when we initially signed him. And I said, you know, everyone was saying how good he's been. I said, I don't think we've actually seen. There's more to his game than what we've actually seen so far, like shooting from outside the box. I think he was Plymouth's maybe main free kick taker when he played for them as well. He's got a real ability of ball striking. And I would argue that maybe earlier on in the season, probably as he was bedding himself in, he was maybe playing almost a bit safe, really, in the sense that he's got more to his game from an attacking point of view than he was showing.
Yeah. And people criticise the recruitment department. And, you know, if you look at, you know, a couple of players that played particularly well yesterday, I thought Borges did well again. But Randall, I mean, you know, snaffling him off at Plymouth for $500,000, $750,000, he is some player. In fact, I would say he's more of a key player for us than Jason Knight, who, you know, we need to be tying him down in his contract this month, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a couple of things there. I mean, first off, yeah, great credit recruitment department for Randall. I'd seen him a few times playing for Plymouth. It was one where I'm not alone in saying I really like to see him at Ashton Gate. I think there were quite a lot of us on the forum who said Adam Randall's an exceptionally good player, and he's relatively local. I believe his family are actually Bristol City fans. I think his family are from Frampton Cotswold originally.
All right.
There was a nice link feeding into it. I think almost every time I've been on, I've expressed how good Adam Randall is. And that goes across various departments. It goes across the crunching tackle and the Boo Adams at Derby. You know, it goes across the range of passing. And now the shooting's kicking in, the goal scoring. But I think one of the key things for me is we talk about him playing within himself, almost to start season, bedding himself in. Yeah, that absolutely happens. But I think Jason Knight coming back has also been really, really key for Adam Randall, because I thought Zach did fine for what Zach had to do in the centre midfield. But Rands was having to do a lot of extra work while he's in there. Jason Knight, I thought, was very, very good. Yes, he was very much Jason Knight of old, winning the ball, intercepting, moving around, creating space. And that frees up Randall. Randall has now been freed up a lot more to do the complete game. And I think I'd said last time about, I've got a punch on for a very good CDM. I undercooked that. I've got a punch on for a very good central midfielder. He is not just a CDM. He's a passer. He's a tackler. He's positioning, heading of the ball, shooting. He is an absolutely complete midfielder. That's not based on yesterday's performance. It's based on 23 games of seeing him. And he, to me, is the most vital person in this side. And one phrase I used before we came on, which I use again, is I think he makes other players better, because he does so much work. They know what he's going to do. His positioning makes their positioning better because he plays on that level. He's the one player I am worried about losing in the summer above all else, because if we're seeing it, everybody else is going to be seeing it as well. Yeah. He's an exceptionally good player.
Yeah, I think CMB's been a bit harsh here. If Randall was a complete midfielder, he wouldn't be playing in the Championship. He's got plenty of years left in him to prove that. And somebody else said, well, maybe he's raising his game because Morsey is on the pitch. Morsey has been brought in to do a job. Yeah, we all know what that is, as that is to back up those two or change the formation and play with a three. And that's the sort of experienced head signing that could be the difference between going up or not. Neil, Ant mentioned Zach Viner passing out from, trying to be a midfielder, and he isn't. I thought he had a very good game yesterday, Viner, and some of his passing from deep came off more often than not, which is why I noticed it. You know, and he's got more. We are more mobile when you've got Tanner, Viner, and Atkinson there than just than Dickey. Dickey's not the quickest player, is he?
No,
Milt turns quicker.
But he wins a decent amount in the air. I mean, if you played certain forwards up against Viner down that centre, he would really struggle from a physical perspective. So it's an interesting one. But if Dickey is fit enough, I'd have Dickey back. Would you playing in that centre?
Well, against Osmachich.
I don't see that Zach staying there for the Preston game if Dickey is.
Okay. Tom, Max didn't have a lot to do yesterday. Bar one save towards the end. They had a corner. One of their blokes headed over. But let's go on to the second goal first with you, Tom. Goodness me, if we gave away one like that, we'd be apoplectic, wouldn't we? Schmidt, and pass was short to LaRue, but you have to be on your game and on your toes to react. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, I was obviously Mehmeti was the scorer, wasn't he? And I think, he showed a quality, the qualities of Mehmeti that we love. Really, I think there aren't many forwards that press like he does. He's a good intent presser from the front, isn't he, Mehmeti? And it was a tidy finish, to be fair. I haven't watched too many replays of it because obviously there's been so many goals, but I wonder if the keeper could have done a little bit better because it wasn't right in the corner. But maybe I'm not giving Mehmeti enough credit there.
Okay. And what did you think of the goal? Keeper should have done better.
I think, again, we go back to the folly of playing out from the back when you don't have the players to do it. and you're playing against a pressing side. I mean, it was. I know certain managers are wedded to tactics, but to be that wedded was quite frankly ridiculous. And what was noticeable is during the game, I think the number 6 for Portsmouth kept arguing with the goalkeeper. Clearly, I think there was a bit of argy between we shouldn't be playing like this. This isn't, we're getting caught. Let's do something else. In terms of the goal itself, it's a good press. I think it's an exceptional return flick by Jason Knight, I believe it is. The ball comes in and it goes, the flick is straight into the pathway. And one of the things I'm quite big on is speed of play. The ball comes in, it's a quick flick, and it's a pretty quick finish by Mehmeti as well. It's not a case if he tries to take one touch too many. The fact he takes it quickly means the keeper isn't set. And could the keeper do better? Yeah, keeper can always do better. But he takes it relatively quickly. The keeper isn't as set as the keeper could be, and he earns the goal from the power and the quality of the shot rather than anything else. If he takes another touch, that doesn't go in. It gets saved because the keeper is able to move that bit quicker. Yeah. So I think it comes from good press to start with, exceptional little flick back by Jason Knight, and then a quick finish, moving that ball fast. That is always the key, because if you hit it quick, a 4 out of 10 shot might go in. If you hit it slow, a 9 out of 10 shot sometimes doesn't.
Yeah. Neil, no celebrate. This is what Jacob says in the text feed. No celebration from Mehmeti, or muted celebration, and straight off down the tunnel at the end left him with an ominous feeling. Ominous, not an anonymous, an ominous feeling. When I said, look, let's just let Mehmeti go, because he don't want to be here. He's not going to be here in the summer. Do you think somebody, what's that, 8 goals and 6 assists now? Somebody going to come in? I hope it wouldn't be one of our rivals, because that would be sickening.
I don't know what is he worth? Can I address the goal first of all?
Yeah,
is that all right with it? That back line. I mean, it was a loose pass by Smith to LaRue. LaRue was absolutely woeful in that first half.
And better off being a chef, hadn't he?
And got hooked at half time because he was that bad. Shaughnessy, for all his moaning at the thing, he gave the ball away about 3 minutes after that second goal directly to Mehmeti, who probably should have then gone on and got the third.
Yeah.
All across that back line yesterday, it was almost like they'd been up late in the hotel or something like that. They'd been drinking till 4 or 5 in the morning collectively. I mean, all of them got hooked. Swanson got hooked. Shaughnessy got hooked. Devlin got hooked. LaRue got hooked. They all got subbed during the game in the second half as well, because collectively they were all woeful. So Smith, he made a few saves with it. Yeah, he's at fault for this one in the second half as well. But all of them just weren't on their game at all. But Mehmeti yesterday, we turned, my friend who sits next to me, I don't know if he listens to the pod, but he'll moan at me for mentioning it, but he said, Mehmeti's on for a hat-trick here. And you could tell with like his things, like they're not on it, because when you're playing as a footballer and you're playing against a team, within the first 5 or 10 minutes, generally you can tell whether they won it the day, their attitude, if they're half-hearted in their tackles, if they're half-hearted, they're giving the ball away. You're like, they don't fancy this today. We're up for this. And then I'm sure Reece would have been like, oh, God's sake, if you just kept me on, I would have got 2 goals, just like Armstrong or whatever. So I think collectively across the board, any player that got taken off yesterday, bar sort of Atkinson potentially, would have been like, oh, if you just kept me on, I probably would have got a goal or 2.
Yeah, really. But he's managing the minutes because it's going to be a much tougher.
This is it. So
it's going to be a much tougher proposition.
I don't read too much into Mehmeti.
I mean, if you look at the league table, I mean, it's vital on Sunday because Preston, we're on 39, they're on 40. We get up to 42. And I'm just looking at the other fixtures: Coventry, Ipswich, Borough, Watford, and Hull. Looking at the other fixtures coming up this weekend. So. Coventry, where are we now? Wrexham, Middlesbrough playing Southampton. Where are we now? Watford are at Hull. That's an interesting one. Yeah, we must win, but because we won throughout the last 4, if we did only get a draw against the Lily Whites, it would be a disaster. It was when that second goal went in that I thought the atmosphere noticeably dropped. It was like a pre-season friendly, a training ground, a training game. It wasn't great. And 2-0 is 2-0 is a dangerous score. So you think, well, are they going to come out and rejuvenate themselves? But, and it wasn't, Tom, it wasn't long before, after the interval, we got that third goal, raking pass from Randall, Borges doing what he does a lot. I thought that was a well-constructed goal myself. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, very much so. The only worry I had going into half-time just before that goal was that there may be a bit of complacency that came in because it was so casual in that first half. But yeah, I think the second that third goal shows the technical quality of two of our players, really. I think, obviously, it was Randall that found Borges with the pass, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was a really good ball. And then I think Borges, the only thing he lacks really is like outright athleticism. I think technically on the ball, he's a pretty decent player. And it was a great cross into Twine. And I thought his finish was pretty tidy as well, to be honest. He almost side-footed it from the edge of the box almost, didn't he? It's very tidy.
I thought that was good technique for the finish. Would you agree with that? And, the technique, because he couldn't blast it. It was a volley that he caught it just right, didn't he? And the keeper was nowhere.
It's a slight adjustment. He takes half a step, if not even that, backwards as the ball comes into him. So he sees the flight of the ball, and as the flight of the ball comes in, he adjusts his foot slightly backwards. So he doesn't plough into it, relaxes into the shot almost, and side foot into the corner. Yeah. Technically, it's an absolutely superb goal. I mean, as I said, the ball from Randall, it doesn't clear the defender's head by much, but it just about does. So it lands straight into Borges.
Yeah.
And said just before then, Knight and Borges were out wide screaming for Randall to deliver the ball when he's on the far side of the pitch, because they know he's got that range of passing in him. Yeah. I saw in the comments saying Randall's weakness is passing. Randall's weakness is absolutely not his passing. Randall's weakness is the fact he's not 6 foot. But it was
neither was Jerry Gow, of course. Somebody compared him to Jerry Gow yesterday, which is
exactly. And I not old enough to have seen Jerry Gow play, but it was, again, going to shut up about Adam Randall for the purpose of this. But it was a great ball over. It was a great cross in, but it was a really nice adjusted finish. Just the way he's just went back slightly to make sure it hit properly. And I thought it was excellent.
Yeah. Neil, those shots, if you don't get the technique right, it goes not rose ed, but it was good. And what did you think of Twine's overall contribution yesterday?
Well, Twine for me is like Mehmeti, in the sense that they can do absolutely nothing for 70 minutes of the game, be completely frustrated, game passes them by. Basically what happens when they're both playing is they hug the tire, they go so wide that it forces Knight and Randall to both go wide, which exposes us in the centre because they're covering out wide because of the defensive failings of Twine and Mehmeti. But that's not what they're on the pitch for.
No.
They're on the pitch. I mean, theoretically, you would always want Mehmeti to stay on for 90 because he could do absolutely. They were digressing a little bit, but you can do absolutely nothing, and then in one moment just do a mercurial thing, circa the Swansea game, for instance. And that's what you need on the pitch, and you need some differential players, and he is a differential player. That goal for me, that third goal, was almost like a training thing, though, because there's absolutely no pressure put on the players. No. This is basically Portsmouth game yesterday, wasn't it? I mean, Randall was allowed the time to find the perfect pass. There was no pressure put on Borges. Cross in between two guys. If they got
side foots it in
from 8 yards or whatever.
Yeah.
Wonderful technique, but it's the type of thing you see on the training videos, isn't it? From up at Phelan's, boom, boom, brilliant. But if you're a manager, you're like, is anybody going to close them down? Is anybody going to get tight? Because for Twine is not the most physical of players, let's put it that way. For him to come through the middle of two centre-backs and actually have the ability to actually do that really just shows how poor the centre-backs were playing yesterday for me.
Yeah.
In regards to allowing him that space to do that. But wonderful technique by Borges, wonderful technique by Twine.
And Borges is making a habit of these crosses from the left.
I would still personally prefer Pre.
All right.
At left wing back. Whether Borges, for me, has actually done enough to earn a contract at the end for us to sign him, I'm still undecided because Tom made a really good point about his athleticism. he just doesn't quite have the pace and defensively to get up and down that wing. You can see why Rob Edwards at Middlesbrough thought, I don't really see him as a left wing back.
So we asked the guys, Tom, Pring, we're in the playoff final at Wembley, Pring or Borges at left wing back if we're playing that formation.
I honestly, I think it entirely depends on the opposition that you're playing against. Really, if you don't think their winger, if they don't play with a pacey right winger, then I think you can go with Borges. But if they do, I think you've got to go with Pring. I've seen Pring. Not many players have had a number on Pring. I think from a physical point of view that I can remember.
And your view, choice of those two on the day.
Pring 100%. Pring is better defensively. I think you saw after he came on yesterday as well, he made a couple of driving runs forward. He's got that in his locker. We tend to forget that. Is his delivery as good as Borges? No, I don't think it is, but I think he offers you something moving forwards as well. And just to kind of just pick up on something in the comments that was mentioned about Scott Twine, his pressing, as was mentioned, has got got significantly better this season. It wasn't undermanning, and then Neil mentioned about he's not the most physical player. What he's actually doing this season is he's using his body and he's putting himself in there to be hit, which he wasn't doing last season. So I think just noting from what the comment said, a lot of credit to Twine, but I agree with generally what Neil said. But to the question, I find it very hard to leave Cam Pring out.
If it Cam Pring, you would leave him out. Okay, fair enough. Tom, the substitutions, it's not the usual on the hour that we used to get with good old Liam. But on the hour, on the 56th minute, you for McCrory, Bell for Twine, Armstrong for Reese. I still can't fathom you, to be honest. But what did you think of those three substitutions and the timing?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I was just grateful that we could make them, really, because I think, as it was alluded to before, if we went into Preston and this was a close game where everyone ran themselves ragged, you'd be a little bit worried about how we'd get on. I think McCrory in particular, because there's no real cover in that position in an ideal 11. So I was glad that he could get a rest. And the players that came on were the players that could come on, really. The only thing I would say on you, just going back to what we said about Stokes, I have a feeling it could have been a game for Stokes to maybe get some minutes, particularly considering how you got on against Mill. I know he only got very limited minutes, but I think maybe there was a turning of the guard of substitutions there that Stokes may have got a chance over you, but that's the only thing I could really draw from it, to be honest.
Neil, was it said on here, Skulllegs, it says Sinclair and Sam Bell are the new Shearer and Sutton. I don't think so, but Sam, did he have his Alice hairband on yesterday or not? He looked lively. Effective contribution from him?
Sam Bell?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll come to the fourth goal in due course, but I think with Sam Bell yesterday, I didn't ever expect to see him on a pitch for British again. I thought when a season-long loan, I went to Fulham, saw him play up at Fulham. He was so far off it in that cup game, albeit it was against Premiership opposition.
Yeah.
And then a season-long loan, he's done well. I think he's got 6 goals, 3 assists in 18 in League One.
He got 6 in 16, but I've been keeping a track of him. I don't think he'd scored in about the last 5 games, so he got them right at the start of that.
So I think, but a decent return for a loan player, I would say. And on loan, he must be thinking, I'm not getting a contract to the end of the season. Ergo, back. It's great to have a player who's been playing a lot of minutes, and he came on and he certainly wanted to make an impression. And his running yesterday, he was willing, and certainly able, but the quality is outside of that assist he made.
But at least he makes effort. At least he's got more effort in him than Fally Mayulu.
Yeah.
Now injured, of course.
Yeah. But a different player to a Fally. He's not a hold-up player like Fally's asked to do. But
that's what we wanted with Cornick, wasn't it? We said, look, Cornick gives lots of effort and what have you. So, but Bell comes on, he does give you effort.
But that's the eternal Cornick question, isn't it? It's 3 managers that haven't fancied Harry Cornick. I mean, I went to Millwall last season when Cornick came on second half and absolutely was fantastic, and then got his goal. And you've seen sort of cameos from Cornick when he scored against Southampton in that 3-1. He can do it in games, but that's 3 managers in a row. Whether he won't
ever wear a shirt for us again, I don't think. Tom, the third goal, Schmidt and poor first touch. Fourth goal, sorry. Lost track of goals.
Yeah.
Poor first touch by Bauer. And there was Bell. And composed finish by Sinks, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've watched. Tell you what, I've watched the highlights back, and their defender that was trying to make the block got very close to blocking that shot. I think I don't want to take too much credit away from Saints because he needs as much confidence as possible. But on another day, if there was maybe a 1% more desire from their team, they may have blocked that shot. But yeah, I think Sam Bell. Yeah, I'm not going to get too carried away. I think the business, because it's within our power, I think, to swap the players around. I think it makes sense. And he definitely looked yesterday. The one thing I'll say is he looked like he benefited from playing some games for Wycombe. I think he looked much more confident than he did. He didn't look a shell of himself at the start of the season, but he definitely looked more confident than he did when we saw the limited minutes he got for us at the beginning of the season, I think.
Yeah. And no matter what, goals do give players confidence. And he knocked that one away. It wasn't a miss hit or anything. Sinks did well there, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have been cursing him had he missed. And again, similar to Tom, I wasn't confident until that ball was actually in the net because it was very, very close to the defender. I mean, it's a good press by Bell. It's a poor ball out from Schmidt because I think it kicks up as it comes towards the defender, and that almost gives the opportunity because there's a bit of miscontrol and Bell comes in. But actually, Bell raced in and managed to knock it quite quickly. On Sam Bell generally, I thought he was almost over eager a couple of times yesterday. There were a couple of times he had the ball in the middle of the pitch, and there was an easy move out to Borges on the left-hand side where we could have spread the play, comes out, comes back in. He ran into a crowd of players. I think that was, I'm back on this pitch. I never expected to be back on this pitch. And I'm going to try and score a goal where actually he could have done a lot more for the team. I don't rule Bell going back out again to Wycombe. Obviously, it's only Wycombe he can go to once we establish what business we do during the January window. We can loan him again. We know we're in for other strikers. I don't think we're going to give him another contract, come what may. So our decision is, do we want to pay Sam Bell for 3 to 4 months? Because he's probably not going to get enough minutes to justify, giving him a new deal. You know enough about him already. Or do you want to see if you can get some kind of payback from him? And there may be a degree here of Mayulu's injured, so you need another option. So bring Bell in, albeit different players. There may be a degree here of Wycombe. They want him. He's hugely valued by them. You've just got to see the Wycombe fans' reaction when they found out we recalled him. It was swearing to an excessive level all over Twitter from the Wycombe fans. And can you let him go there? Right, you've got to get him permanently. We'll get a small fee with a sell-on clause for this reason. There may be a bit of trying to force Wycombe's hand, but also for a couple of games, it's good for us to have him while we're trying to sort out the rest of our January business.
No, I think that's right. And because Wycombe, if they really wanted him, what's a decent fee for Sam Bell? It's probably £500,000, yeah. And you're saving, what's he on as a wage? £6,000 a week, probably. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to recall them to start the season. So just one of the comments, you have to recall them to start the window for this strategy to work. If you recall them at the end, you can't then loan him back out. You recall them to start, covers you during the Mayulu injury period, stroke while you're trying to get the next striker in, whoever that may be. And then Wycombe say, right, late in the window, actually, for the top 6, we'd like Sam Bell back. Here's £500,000, here's 200 grand, here's 300 grand, here's however much. And you make the call on that basis. And I would not be surprised if he's still not in January.
Neil, we've eulogised over Randall already, but 2 things that he did in this: shot hit the bar, and then that dribble that Sinks. Sinks had a couple of chances he could have gone away with a match ball, but that little dribble that Randall did, and Sinks knocked it over at the near post.
Can I ask the 3 of you then? How well did you think Sinks actually played yesterday?
Well, he got 2 goals, mate.
Yeah, and I'm very glad for him, and I'm glad on that second goal. But outside of those 2 goals, Sinclair yesterday was not great.
He ran the channels quite well.
Outside of that 2,
he only scored 2 goals, but he wasn't great.
He wasn't. But then
that's all about cup half empty.
He was. It showed yesterday. Okay, we go back to how badly Portsmouth were. But that chance when Randall, just remind
Yeah.
me, put it on his left, 3 yards out, this guy's over the top. It's general all-round link-up play for me yesterday, and football's a matter of opinion, isn't it? But if he was coming on to make an impression outside of the goals, and given the low base that you were playing against, would you watch that and say Sinclair starts against Preston rather than Reece?
Essentially, why not? I mean, Tom, what do you think?
I'm
You've got
completely
options,
torn in
haven't
the
you?
middle, really. You do.
Well,
I think the 2 goals, and the important thing that I think that happened is someone, I can't remember who it was, said it earlier. The subs made early would have kept players hungry because they'd have thought, I could have had a couple more goals this game, and you'd hope that they can carry the hunger into the next one. But as for Sinks, I'm in the middle as to whether I start Reece or Sinks at the moment.
Yeah. And
I'm nowhere near the middle whether I start Reece or Sinks. I start Reece. I thought Sinks. First things first. What was great was the other players' reactions to the goal. You could see they were genuinely delighted for him because whatever we think of Sinclair Armstrong as a player, clearly he's a well-liked man amongst the change room. He appears to be a decent enough sort. Is he another Semenyo, which is a lazy comparison? He is absolutely not another Semenyo. It's a really lazy comparison. If anything, he's a Harry Cornick. He's an option for the last 15, 20 minutes. He'll run the channels. He's a willing runner. He's never going to get you a great amount of goals. And I thought he ran the channels reasonably well yesterday. Should have scored the Randall chance. Should have scored another chance. I'm not sure what happened now with my lighting. And, we'll come to the 5th.
well, he's just frozen.
Is he had a power cut?
Dodgy Wi-Fi.
It's not here. It's down there. Right, he's frozen. I mean, it's almost like Sinclair is like a Jekyll and Hyde character. When he got our 4th goal, that was Dr. Jekyll, and then he was Mr. Hyde, and then he let this Dr. Jekyll come out when we got the 4th. You froze for a second there. You're back. He's back in the room.
No, it's not.
Add to the stream. Hang on. Let's let him back in. Here we go. And there we go. Let's let him in. You're back in the room, mate. There you go.
I don't know what's I could just see I went dark all of a sudden.
You didn't go dark. You just froze. But there we go. Neil, the fifth goal.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good shot on the turn, but there was so much space again, wasn't it?
Oh, fantastic! Don't get me wrong. Sinclair Armstrong has been a bit of a revelation the last 2 months. Really, from a position where we were all like, I've had enough of Armstrong. Yeah. I've had enough of him. I think collectively everybody just went, that's enough. It's time to move on. Fans Forum, Tinian and Struber, both like Sinclair has been a disappointment, all the rest of it, saying things really that, maybe should have been kept in house. But it's honestly, whatever has happened with Sinclair Armstrong, he is a far better player at the moment than he was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That's a given. But that was his 3rd goal since November last year. So, and those 2 goals in it. So other than that, we're talking about the Birmingham goal, and the last goal before the Birmingham goal that he scored was November last year.
Yeah.
So you're talking about
3 goals in 15 months. If you're going to say,
with
a year.
13 months, 13, 14, with it. But he's not the answer. But he has improved. But Christ, it's bizarre, isn't it? Because how many games did he play for QPR? And he didn't see that.
But games for QPR, it's a high number of games.
We paid big money.
Yeah, it's a high number of games, but they were mainly substitute appearances.
Regardless, we paid. He's when the comparisons with Semenyo came from SGS, and came in from the youth academy, and then he's had the.
Well, the worrying thing is
we paid two.
Well, the worrying thing is look what we paid. Look what we paid for Fanny Maulu, and that's a right bloody write-off, isn't it? All rather convenient, getting injured again. Tom, he finished with aplomb, and it's important to keep a clean sheet as well, isn't it? Because that boosted the goal difference, didn't it, quite significantly?
Yeah, I think my main takeaway from the clean sheet is I hope it was a game that built a bit of confidence in Max O'Leary as well. I know he didn't have much to do. He didn't have much pressure when he had the ball, but he had a fair few touches on the ball with his feet, and just hopefully that gives him a bit of sharpness and in confidence. Because I think you can't really level criticism against him for the Millwall game, but he has looked a player that's been definitely lacking in sharpness and probably in confidence as well. I think he'll see the social media comments about him. He'll hear the groans that happen in the stands when he does stuff. I think yesterday, hopefully, was a good game for his confidence.
Yeah, and he only had one thing to do really, which was that header from Mackenzie Kirk, wasn't it? And he was on it because he could have easily stumbled back across the goal line. Yeah. They sort of made a half-hearted appeal with no justification at all. But what did you think of that?
He had very little to do, as you say. There was that one. I think there was a long shot not long after that where the chanting of "We've had a shot" was kicking in, and I think the whole ground joining "You've had a shot," which was great. He didn't do much wrong. The only thing that I think the only thing you could argue is at the back end of the first half, there was a ball came in and Max was very much in Max land. Do I come? Do I stay? Do I come? Do I stay? And I think that's one of the biggest things at the moment. It's the transition between Vitek and Max is, Vitek's going to come. Max, I think, would like to come. The defenders would like Max to come, but Max is more comfortable staying on his line more, which is why he makes saves like that one from the header. Because Vitek wouldn't make that save because Vitek would have come for the ball. Whether Vitek gets the ball or not, debate and discuss. I still think Vitek will come in when he's fit again because fundamentally he's a better keeper. If we want to get the playoffs or even better, we need to be ruthless. We need to say, right, actually, Vitek is a better goalkeeper than Max. So that's not saying Max O'Leary is a bad goalkeeper. You saw a bad goalkeeper yesterday and he was playing for Portsmouth. And when Max O'Leary leaves in the summer, as I think he will, I've got no doubt he'll get another championship gig because he is a championships quality keeper. He's a different kind of keeper to Vitek, and he's not as good as Vitek. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that doesn't mean that Max deserves the pelters that I think he's getting quite unnecessarily. But because he's coming, we've played 4 games, we've won 3 of them, and he's kept 2 clean sheets. Now, with those metrics, you'd have to say he's doing it. But do I think we can do better? Yes. Does that make him a bad keeper? No. 2 things are true at once.
And lovely isn't the answer either.
Can I have a word about Max?
Yes, go on.
For me, for the Dolman, for me, 32, we have our counter each game of what that F Max, moment, and then normally in most games you're going to have 2, 3, possibly 4, and you just don't have that with Vitek. I think he breeds uncertainty in it. I mean, that time at the end of the first half, okay, it was if I was managing a team, to give a free kick away 10 seconds before half time, when you know that the ref's going to blow directly after the free kick, so they're just going to go everyone forward for that. And he came and he was and it was a miracle it didn't go in. Yeah. It was a miracle it did not go in because they had 3 at the back post and it was coming together. That would have been 2-1.
A different game in the second half.
And that was all with Max coming flying Superman fashion out, absolutely nowhere. So that was a classic Max moment. He's a keeper that got us into the playoffs last year. So Ant is 100% right in his observations from my perspective with regards to Max. He's a decent, but Vitek has just raised the bar. And by raising the bar, he exposes the difference between a adequate keeper, a fairly all right keeper, and a very good keeper. And the second goal against Millwall, for me, it's not one where I'm going, Max should have saved it, but it's the type of goal where Vitek has been saving it in that situation. So Vitek comes out like Mr. Tickle with his long arms and long legs and all the rest of it, and his massive presence. And that is the type of save that Vitek has been making for us during the course of the season, which has kept us in games. I didn't necessarily expect Max to save that goal on it, but that is a difference between an exceptional goalkeeper who makes those sort of saves and other goalkeepers that don't make those sort of saves.
Yeah.
And that's where we are with Vitek, really. Vitek has raised the bar, he's exposed Max, and it's bizarre that in all our conversations at Senior Reds or fans forums, the contract situation with Max O'Leary has never come up, has it?
No.
Nobody's gone on record. Nobody's even asked Struber, contract for Max in the summer? Dan Carter hasn't. Everybody else is listed. We've completely forgotten that Vitek goes back to Man United, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Max is out of contract. Lumley, Struber doesn't like Lumley, it's quite clear. So what are the plans for summer recruitment around goalkeepers?
Yeah. All right. Well, the window, I was trying to think of the French word for the window is le fenêtre est ouvert maintenant. Yes, the window is open now. Tom, what do you think of Gerhard's comments? I think it was before the game, and there was a thread about it. He's got the fans on his side. The fan base is united behind him. Yeah, he was talking about what he'd like to do and talking about ambition. And, I am ambitious, and it's whether we want to be ambitious. And I put on the thread, my interpretation of the comment is written his death warrant a bit there, a bit like Nigel Pearson describing some considerable number of months before he left, but the previous recruitment strategy is bonkers, yeah? But Struber's out there, and he's putting his cards on the table. He thinks we can do auto-promotion. So what do you think of his comments, though?
Well, I mean, do you think he's wrong? I think if we have a good January, we could. And yeah, I think he's well within his rights to say that, isn't he? I think he's as a level of manager that he is, I think he is right to have that level of ambition, and he should probably expect what he wants from the people that are in charge of him at a football club. Really, I think it's fair enough.
Yeah. And what do you think on that?
I think with anything with Struber, there is a little bit of being wary of lost in translation, because although he speaks better English than I speak German or Austrian or anything like that, I think that he has various turns of phrases which he uses, which sometimes we think, well, actually, does he really mean that in essence? And you have to look behind it. I think he is absolutely right to say we need to be ambitious, 100%. And it's noticeable that Steve Lansdown was there yesterday. Now, that wasn't publicised beforehand, but I think Struber did mention in his interview post-match that Steve Lansdown was there. And in a lot of ways, that's no better time to do a 5-0 performance and demolition. You can go, well, actually, look at this. We are so much on the right track here. Yeah. If you just put that extra push in, we can do this, And yes, we can talk about FFP. We can talk about what to do with the Semenya money. We're waiting on that. And we are back to the factor of we are still left with an imbalanced squad from previous decisions that have been made. I don't want to see us do a 1 in, 1 out, which may be one of the aspects here. We may have to deregister players. We can maximum squad size of 25. Sorry, I think Lewis Thomas is registered now. You deregister him. If it comes to the part of I think Joe Williams was registered, but McNally wasn't. You'll have to make a call on whether you're going to register either of those in the second half of the season. But he's right to call that we need to be ambitious. And I hope that he's having those conversations with Steve Lansdown while Steve Lansdown is in the country, because it's far better to speak to the organ grinder than it is to the monkey. And when the organ grinder's in town, let's make the use of him.
Yeah, I think that's a bit unkind calling Tom Rawcliffe the monkey.
But you know what I mean.
I do note that use that. And I mean, it's interesting comments here on the text feed. Let's not forget he fell out with and left Barnsley because they didn't invest, but he had a better offer on the table to go over to the States. Somebody said earlier on in the text feed that the fans will turn on SL, Steve Lansdown, if we're not seen as being ambitious in this window. And Neil, it's been said Tinian said it, there's no money there. And to bring in somebody that's going to make a difference rather than just be like a squad player, because I keep forgetting the bloke's name. Who was the one we got from Oxford, the midfielder who's now at Huddersfield? McGain, right? I mean, McGain, he never let us down last season. So if we go out and we sign, what is your measure of ambitious in the next 28 days?
Well, I think there's some proactive and there's reactive, isn't there? The reactive is if you get offers for players like Sykes, Roberts, Cornick, Mehmeti, Viner. You've got decisions to make with regards to that squad. Some are obvious, obviously, that even Bell for that instant, for that point. But I think being proactive, we need more at the top of the pitch, which is bizarre because you say,
Fourth highest number of goals spread across the team.
But I think in the forward line, there is a drop off. So if Reece doesn't do it or Armstrong doesn't do it for whatever reason, we don't have the backup in a number of games. And Tom, you were at Millwall, weren't you? Yeah. So Millwall, case in point, the drop off when the subs come on, and I think if you're going to be up there at the end of the season, it is a squad game, and some of the teams, the squads, invigorate the side when they come on, and too many times this season with Bristol City, when we've made substitutions, the levels have dropped off, particularly in the forward area and going forward, and when it's not happening. So I think, in those areas, I think Stokes going on loan is tantamount to somebody coming in a 10, whether it's an Earthy, whether it's
I'll be
else,
honest. Yeah.
I think there is an element of that. I think you need another forward in. You just need another forward. And that feels really bad off the Saints' game yesterday, getting 2 goals. But then we say Reece isn't the Reece that he was of the first 6 games of the season for me. And an injury to Reece, and where are you? You're playing Saints by himself.
Yeah.
So you need, I would say, a number 9, and I think a number 10 is coming in. I think 2 players in those areas.
All right. Tom, what does ambition look like to you? I mean, I got to go on Talk Sport Fan Network after this podcast.
With your chest?
With my chest, yeah. I've got to talk about what we're going to do with a Sinclair, with the Semenyo money. I'm going to say, well, we ain't going to see any of it on the pitch. But to get a player that comes in and makes a difference and looks like ambition. I mean, have you got any names out there that you'd say, well, that looks ambitious, whereas that Louis Barrett, who's at Luton, doesn't, or whatever the guy's name is?
Yeah, I've seen a few names. I think just going back to ambition, I think ambition to me looks like recognising the good start to the season we've had in comparison to last season and having a plan going into January that was established a couple months before the window even opened. That's probably what ambition would look like to me. I've seen a few names bandied around on Twitter. I'll name a couple of accounts. Bristol City FM has got his named a couple names, and Fevs. And the name I've taken for both of them in conversation I've had is Castledine, who's been on loan at Huddersfield. I think if we could secure someone like him for one of the number 10 positions, we'll be in a good place. Because I think, Anis and Twine have done, I think, pretty well this season. But I think even they could benefit from someone of a similar level to them to really push them for the rest of the season, I think. And who knows what we're going to do with Anis in January. I don't know. I mean, does ambition look like keeping him if we get a good offer? Or I don't know how good the offer would be to sell him. But that'd be something else I think about as well.
It's a difficult one. And what do you think? I mean, Castledine, you say 210s. That doesn't solve the problem of what happens if Reece gets injured. Then does it?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I mentioned Castledine on the last pod. I've seen a fair bit of him again. It wouldn't have. I think there's a lot of moving parts here. The moving parts are Mehmeti, obviously, and we can say we should sell him in January. He holds the cards as to where he wants to go. If he's got a move that's lined up in June, we don't sell him in January because he's just going to say, well, actually, no, I'm already going off to Saudi Arabia. So fine, guys, you can either play me or I'll just sit on the bench. So there was a moving part there. There was a moving part as to what system Struber actually wants to move to. And so some of the discussions are predicated on we're going to play with 210s. And actually, I think there is a chance you're going to see Randall and Knight in the same midfield, which I think is an absolute monster of a midfield and is going to make us very, very difficult to play against. Yeah. And in those circumstances, I'm not sure you do have 210s. So with this window coming in, I'm actually excited in a lot of ways because I'm not sure where we're going to go with it. I agree with the fact that ambition is recognizing where you are and having made plans. And what we should have had is we should have had 3 plans depending on where we are. If we were struggling, this should have been the target. If we were mid-table, this should be the target. If we were pushing, it should be the target and this should be the budget. And we are pushing. So we now need to start looking at saying, this is the target and this is the budget. Where are we with the FFP? Where are we with losses? In terms of names for strikers, I never heard of Fally Miulu until a year and a half ago. It's a bad day that I did hear of Fally Miulu. But I would hope that the management team they've pulled VTech out of the hat, effectively. Neto
Well,
bought it.
VTech came out because of Struber's connections with Wildenstein at Man United.
But that's what I mean. If they've pulled him out of a hat, nobody would have said, "Oh, this guy who spent some time in Accrington and time on loan in Austria, let's go for him."
Yeah.
So we know how the recruitment works. The names go in the hopper from various sources. I'm hoping that the names that are going in the hopper are more going in from Struber, because Struber has a very clear way as to how he wants to play, and that they passed all the checks and balances, so we could say, right, let's go and get that player. I wouldn't be surprised to see a striker coming in from abroad, someone Struber's worked with before, someone Struber's aware of, but we also have to remember that 20 goal a season strikers are hen's teeth. They don't exist, and actually they're not always that beneficial to a side because of what they take away from the overall collective. So I don't know where we're going to go with this, and I don't think Struber's wedded to 10s moving forward. So,
you don't think he is?
I don't think he is, because he's not played it. He's not played it in most places. I think what he's done is he's done what good managers do, and let's be frank, he's a very good manager. He's maximised the resources he has.
Yeah.
The 2-10s are a function of a personnel issue. That doesn't mean we're going to be playing that after January. That doesn't mean we're going to be playing that start of next season, because I think he has had limited opportunity to shape the squad and the side the way he wants to. You're starting to see just the infancy of Struber ball, and that in itself makes me hugely excited.
Getting excited there. Nobody's mentioned loans, Neil. I mean, my view, I agree with what people say about Castledine, yeah, but he's on loan at Huddersfield at the moment from Chelsea. Is there another youngster out there at top level, a la Tammy Abraham, where you pay, it's going to cost a lot of money, but you're doing it for a 23-week period, well, 20 weeks if you get up in the also in the top two. Is there somebody out there that could do a job for us and make that difference?
That comes back to your recruiting, your scouting, your analysts at the end of the day. I think Leo Castledine has been exceptional for Huddersfield, albeit in League One. I think there will be a dozen championship clubs looking at Leo Castledine in relation to bringing them in. So you're into a competitive field there. Loans in this window are a lot easier to do than permanent transfers. So I think on that basis, I think it'll be 2 loans for me, possibly 3, depending on trading or whatever like that. But what we've got to bear in mind with any Semenyo money coming in, and I think there will be Semenyo money. I'll be very surprised if Semenyo didn't move, was the summer. The summer, we're talking about 5, 6, possibly 7 players leaving for free, and you're going to have to replace them. Yeah. Now, if you get X amount of money, and some of it's going to go to cover costs, we know that's how Lansdowne works. So even if you're talking about half of the Semenyo money, 5.5 million,
it's not enough.
That is going to have to go to cover, X amount of players that are leaving the club in the summer. So that way, I don't see us spending any money on any player in January.
Well, that's pretty depressing, isn't it? Really?
Well, I think it's just going to be loans.
No, it's facts of life. That's how it is.
Because I think we are in a reactive situation with loads of players. We don't know whether they're signing. We don't know if people are coming in. If someone comes in and offers 300,000 for sites,
well, I have to say
that.
I have to say they're a bit stupid not signing now, because there's 1 or 2 there that if they don't sign, because I don't think, despite all his mercurialness, I don't think Mehmet is a Premier League player, right? So if we go up, we would be expecting to do better than any of the players that are out of contract.
I think Mehmet out of contract, you're looking at a player that got 12 goals in the Championship last year.
Yeah.
So Reece got 12 goals in the Championship, and I think he's probably our highest paid player.
Yeah.
It's somewhere around the £20,000 mark or whatever like that.
Right.
Mehmet has assists and he has goals. I think he's looking 25, 30,000 out of our ballpark. He goes free in the summer. They're not paying the transfer fee. They give him £2 million signing on fee.
Yeah, they're off. They're off.
That's why we're not in for
a couple of things. Tinian said at senior res, no guarantee that Semenyo money would go to. We know that. And then I think, Tom, you said something just a minute ago on the text feed. Sorry, I've hidden it now. Why did I do that? There we are.
If Tinian said it was raining outside, I'd probably go and check before I took an umbrella.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I think it's more likely than not that we would be looking at money not necessarily being invested in the squad. But I don't really trust a word that comes out of his mouth generally. So
fair enough. Don't hold back. All right. Nothing to do with Bristol City, although it's an ex-player of ours. Liam Rosenior, Tom, Liam Rosenior being linked with a Chelsea manager job. His stock has gone through the roof, hasn't it?
Yeah, Chelsea have got an interesting setup, haven't they, with the two clubs that the ownership run. He's currently manager of, is it Strasbourg is the other club? Yeah. So it's a really interesting setup that they've got there. I think they were probably seeing him as the next big thing at Chelsea, and he was the backup plan, and now it's time to put that in action, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you remember, remember Liam as a player for us? Didn't he score one of the goals in the Freight Rover final in 2003?
He did, and just to confirm that contract poor management is nothing new. We let Liam Rosenior go because we posted him a deal late. It was back in the day before sending things via email, etc. So we offered him a contract, and we said yes, we offered him a contract. I think we did something like send it second class post when it needed to be next day delivery, so it didn't arrive.
Yeah, it went on a Friday, second class post. Yeah, rest in peace. But I think that was down to Colin Sexton. That one to be
may well have been. So just to say,
nothing changes. All right, guys. Look, I think we're done for today. Thank you, those of you that have tuned in while we've been recording it. We'll be doing a review of Preston on Monday when everybody's going to be back at work, or most people are. Hopefully we'll be reporting on another win. Will there be any transfer activity before then? Probably not. Will Sam Morsey get some minutes on the grass on Sunday afternoon? I reckon he probably will. It's a good place to be going into the new year, isn't it? I mean, it is the 50th anniversary. If we can come out of the next 3 league games with, I'll say, 7 points, Preston, Oxford and Sheffield Wednesday, we will be in a very strong position going forward. And I think, in terms of happiness, each of you, Tom, happy at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard not to be positive. Yeah. This is a much better start than I think we had last season when we finished in the top 6. And I think we're in the mix. And that's all at this stage of the season. That's all we really wanted to say. And I'd also say that period of injuries that we had earlier on in the season, I think that was our tough patch of the season. And we got through that. I think we're probably through the tough patch of last season, to be honest.
That's a very good point. And you in a good place? Happy?
Oh, completely. I mean, that's always a good place. But conceivably, if I look at January the 2nd last year, it was hard going to the games. It was like pulling teeth. We'd been through a Luton game, which was abysmal to watch. Yeah, we got the playoffs in the end, but that was like running through treacle last season. There was a sense of division around the club. There was no real sense of positivity. You go there, it's exciting. The club feels united. The club feels together. There's been a galvanizing effect from Struber. I'm absolutely far happier this time than I was last year, and long may that continue, because I think the signs are very, very good.
Yeah. And Neil, are you going to echo that view?
What a crazy division this year.
Yeah.
Last year there was 4 clubs that flew away with it, and then you had 10 clubs playing for 2 places. This year, I think we're playing for about 5. I'm just looking at...
Well, West Brom in 18th are on 31 points. So there's 9 points separating 12.
But you look at Birmingham, who we thought would be up there in 17th, as you say. Sheffield United 15th, Southampton 14th, Leicester 13th.
Yeah.
So, they might have a strong end to the season, and Leicester are only 5 points behind us. Anybody that strings 3 or 4 games together, like Watford have done, suddenly becomes into the mix. This is going to go right down to the last month of the season, if not. This has got all the makings of that sort of last day of the season, and 6 or 7 clubs can make the playoffs, and us turning around going, oh Christ, let's hope Sheffield United or what was it, Blackburn, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Blackburn don't score or whatever like that. It's going to go right down to the wire, because anybody can beat anybody else in this division.
Well, I'd really like it to be, potentially auto as well, because then you haven't got all the drama of the playoffs. I think that's a big ask. I think Ipswich have come on strong now. They've got their act together. Coventry look like they've faltered a little compared to the high standards that they've set. But it is a good division. But more importantly, get back to what Tom said, and Anne, we've all said it. At least you go to Ashton Gate now and you expect to see a decent game of football, a lot of energy, front foot football that we were promised a long time ago, which I think we're finally there. And I just hope that we do something in the window in January that is a little bit uplifting, and we're not all thinking so Bristol City. And by being so Bristol City, that means turning up now on Sunday against Preston and getting a result against them, because that would push us in the playoff zone, and that would give people even more confidence, put pressure on the board even more so to dip their hands in their pockets, because the more we maintain this run, the closer the golden goblet of Premiership football gets. If we come out of January, I'm not interested in the FA Cup. If we come out of January and we're, 5th or 4th or something like that, then, you got to go for it. That's my view anyway. But there we go. Everybody have a good rest of the New Year's holiday, and we'll be back on Monday. All the best, everyone. Goodbye.